Hello, class. This is Professor Fisher once again. Uh, Now we are going into Chapter 11, Introduction to the Nervous System. The next couple chapters, we're actually going to talk about the nervous system in a lot of details. We're talking about the brain, the spinal cord, all the nerves that help us sense things, motor nerves that help us move, send signals to our different parts of our bodies. So the nervous system plays a huge role in over the control of many parts of our body. So it's very important to discuss it in the detail that we do. All right, so your nervous system, as I said, controls your perception and experience of the world. It's kind of like how we interact, with the world. You see something, your brain processes what you see. Right now, your brain is working, saying, processing what you're listening to. You're pushing the buttons on your computer or your smartphone as you watch this video. So your nervous system helps you interact with the world around you. The nervous system directs voluntary movement. Picking my arm up, yes, it's part of my muscular system. The muscle actually moves the arm, but it's the nervous system that sends the signal to the muscle to say, move the arm. Nervous system is where we have our consciousness, our thinking, our personality, our learning. We're going to talk about all of that. Also, we're going to talk about regulating homeostasis, keeping everything balanced in our life with the endocrine system. The endocrine and the nervous system are the primary controls of our body. And so everything from how fast we breathe to how our heart beats, our temperature, or whether we're asleep or awake, all of these things are affected by the nervous system and in conjunction with the endocrine system. The nervous system is divided into two main areas: the central nervous system, the CNS, and the peripheral. And these are pretty easy to understand. The central nervous system, the CNS, is the brain and the spinal cord, right? So your brain, which is in your cranial cavity, and your spinal cord, which connects to your brain and travels down travels down your back. That's called the CNS, the central nervous system. Unless it's a reflex, everything pretty much goes through the brain and the spinal cord. Brain, we have billions of nerve cells protected by the skull, as I said, in the cranial cavity, protected by the skull. The brain we have a whole chapter on the brain. Well, we have multiple chapters on the brain, actually, because we have a senses chapter, but it has billions of nerve cells, which are neurons. We're going to talk about those. And, we don't even fully understand the brain, even though we've been studying it for, hundreds of years. We still don't completely understand the brain and how it exactly works. Why, two children, identical twins, can think totally differently. The brain is an amazing organ. Its ability to be able to just adapt in general and to control the body is amazing. Somebody who's sick in the hospital, just giving them a sense of hope and they get better, whereas somebody else who's sick with the same illness, they lose hope and they die. Why is that? How does just thinking differently cause one person to live and cause another person to die? We can't quite figure that out. But that's the brain, and we'll talk about some of the things that we do know about the brain when we get to that chapter. Spinal cord, begins at the foramen magnum, basically the base of the brain, and continues through the vertebral foramina. So it's going through your spinal column, and it has millions of neurons, fewer than the brain, but it allows communication with the body below the head and neck, right? The PNS, so the CNS, the central nervous system, is your brain and spinal cord. Your PNS, your peripheral nervous system, peripheral on the outside nervous system, is basically everything else. So all nerves in the body outside the skull and your vertebral column. So everything outside of your brain and your spinal cord is considered PNS, right? Nerves are axons of neurons bundled together, blood vessels and connective tissue, which they carry signals to and from the CNS, and they're classified by origin or destination. Right? You have cranial nerves, which are 12 pairs of nerves traveling to and from the brain. So there's cranial nerves travel directly from the brain to their intended location. And then you also have spinal nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerves traveling to and from the spinal cord. Now you may say, you may say, look at this and think like, I only have like 43 nerves in my body. No, but remember, nerves branch and have other connections as well. So there's way more nerves than this, but these are the basics: the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. All right, so that is the CNS, central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and the PNS. All right. Everything else. All right, so there's other divisions of the nervous system. We have sensory afferent division. All right, so think of it this way. Basically, you have sensing and you have movement, or the two big sort of things that nerves do. There are some other things we're going to talk about, but basically sensing and movement. Right, so and the one in between here is, so you see at the top sensory and motor, but also there's integrative, so connecting the two. All right, so our sensory afferent division, you'll see the term efferent and afferent. The sensory afferent division of the peripheral nervous system, so outside of the brain and spinal cord, gathers information about internal and external environments. Internal environment inside your body, external environment outside your body. And input from both are carried from receptors to your spinal cord, and then from the spinal cord to the brain. Right? So we have somatic sensory division, carries signals from your skeletal muscles, your bones, your joints, your skin, also from organs of vision, your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your nose, smell, and balance. Okay. We also have visceral sensory. This is your internal, transmits from your viscera. When you see viscera, think of organs. So this is from your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your kidneys, right? So things that your body senses what's going on in the organs inside your body. Integrative functions are those that analyze and interpret. So we have sensing and we have motor, but in between we have integrative. Right? There are parts of the nervous system are sensing things. Parts of the nervous system are causing things to move. But the integrative is the part that analyzes. Right? We have to analyze what we have sensed. All right. Integrative, analyze and interpret incoming sensory information, determine the appropriate response. So 99% of integrated sensory information subconsciously is disregarded as unimportant. And you may say, well, that sounds like a lot. But think about this. Right now, you're wearing, well, you may not be, but you're probably wearing clothes right now, right? But you don't even, that clothing is touching your skin, that clothing touching your skin is sending a nerve response, like something's touching me, to your body, but you're subconsciously disregarding that right now, right? You're not sitting there saying, my pants legs, the clothes is touching my pants leg, or touching, or the sleeve of my shirt is touching my arm. You're not thinking about that. It's disregarded. It's basically worthless information to you at this very moment. And until I just said it, now you probably thought about it. But it's something that is, you, even though the sensation is there, you don't need that information, therefore it's just disregarded. But we're constantly getting information that we actually don't need. So it's very interesting. And you'll see that what is it, white noise, they call it. Just background noise. You notice how you may hear it at first, but then eventually you just sort of disregard it. Smells are the same way. You smell it at first, and then eventually you just disregard it. Your body doesn't analyze it, and basically just doesn't analyze it anymore. You don't even notice it. The remaining sensory stimuli that the CNS does respond to leads to a motor response. Motor functions, right? So we have sensing, sensing externally and internally, what we hear, what we see, what we touch, what our heart, our kidneys, our lungs, whatever part of our body sends sensory information to our nervous system, to our brain. And then we have motor, actions performed in response to integration by motor efferent divisions of the PNS. And this is also subdivided in the somatic and autonomic divisions by organs that neurons contact. All right, so the motor division, motor neurons carry out motor functions. Right, so motor function, my brain sends a signal to my spinal cord, sends a signal to the bicep, and it says, pick something, pick up my phone. All right, for instance, that's carried out by my motor neurons. Okay, effectors are the organs that carry out the effects of the nervous system. So the organ would be my bicep, for instance. The somatic motor division, neurons transmit signals to skeletal muscle, voluntary control. All right, so sending the signal to my skeletal muscle, which is a bicep, and voluntary control, that's somatic. The autonomic nervous system, or visceral motor division, is neurons carry the signals to thoracic and abdominal viscera, that's organs inside my body, and they're critical for maintaining homeostasis, such as certain glands, contraction of smooth muscle. The idea of I'm hot and I'm sweating, for instance, it's something that's autonomic. When you see autonomic, think of like automatic almost. So, for instance, the sweat glands release sweat onto the surface of my skin to cool me down. That's not something that I consciously think of, but it's something that my body does in response to my nervous system telling my body that I'm hot. All right. Functional divisions of the nervous system. This is a good example. The girl sees the soccer ball coming towards her, number one. Number two, her brain integrates input that she needs to have a motor response to be able to kick the ball. The brain sends the signal down to the quadriceps, allows her to pick up her leg and kick the ball, right? So we go sensory neurons from the eye to the brain, and then motor from the brain to the quad. So the effector in this sense is the quadriceps picking up the leg to kick the ball. And she is able to kick the ball and score a goal and win the game. All right, so this is the basic breakdown: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and how we basically break it down.